It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, and I hereby call this regular scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Can you please bow your heads for invocation by Councilman Lisi?
Heavenly Father, we come before you today in humility and faith. We ask your blessing on all the victims of the recent tornadoes in Tylertown and throughout the Southeast. We ask for your guidance as we deliberate during tonight's meeting. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Help us to remember your love and grace, always being faithful in our service to you. We ask your blessing upon Diamond Head and all of its citizens. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor DeFrio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
I am going to move to adjust the agenda under presentation, add item B, Miss Penny from the Garden Club of Diamond Head. Could I get a second to move as amended?
Second.
Second made by Councilmember Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers located at City Hall. Next, we have Miss Penny Crawford from the Diamond Head Garden Club.
Hi, everybody. Gorgeous day.
Beautiful.
I just wanted to tell y'all that the Diamond Head Garden Club works very hard for Diamond Head, in case you hadn't noticed. And one of our newest projects is a butterfly release, a live butterfly release this Saturday morning between 11 and noon. And we're inviting the public. We're hoping lots of children will come. We have lots of tables with activities for kids, information for adults, sign-ups for the garden club, all kinds of things that we could think of that would attract kids and adults. And I hope that everybody will come and you'll spread the word on your Facebook or whatever it is you have, because I don't have any of that. But anyway, to tell everybody, tell your constituents to please come by on Saturday morning, the gazebo in front of City Hall at 11 o'clock for a live butterfly release. The butterflies will get here on Friday afternoon, and then they're going to cut loose on Saturday, and we should have perfect weather for them. The Garden Club has been doing wonderful things, and I want to add that a little bit because I want to give some other people credit. Sanders Bennett has pretty much completed his Eagle Scout project at the Maluhia Garden, installing bluebird houses and planting bird and pollinator-friendly plants in the old butterfly garden, cleaning it all up, making it look great. We have another Eagle Scout who has worked at the Lily Pond and planted lots of native trees. And we're really proud of that activity. And we have another Eagle Scout candidate who's going to install bat houses that he and the troop have constructed. And we support all of these activities with money and support whatever we can for these kids. They're doing a great job, and we're training wonderful people in our community to be our leaders in the future. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. So that's this Saturday, the 22nd, 11 to noon, right out here. And Miss Penny, you didn't mention you will have the butterfly wings in the gazebo where the kids can take pictures. Photo op with the butterfly wings and free wildflower seeds for the first 60 children. Okay, thank you very much. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just give you a quick update on some of our projects around the dog park project. The engineering firm is finalizing the plans on the dog park with all the original elements or all the elements that were in the original design. Public Works will start clearing the property as soon as we get the final lease paperwork back from Oshner on that. The paving 2025, Covington's here to give a presentation on that tonight. All of you have the plans in front of you, but we'll get back to that one in just a few minutes. But we do plan on having a pre-bid conference on April 17th with any and all interested parties on that project. The MDOT project is, I hope all of you have noticed, is moving along well. They have blocked up a lot of the road, and it is very somewhat confusing as well as tight through there. So please use as much caution as you can. Get off your phones, pay attention to the roads to get through there without either harming your vehicle or someone out there working. So they're finishing up the second roundabout or the north roundabout of the bridge, and then they'll start on the south roundabout as well as the south ramp that needs to be finished. So, as far as the project overall, I've had several people ask this. The roundabout and the T.L. Wallace project did not have a date to be completed. That was to be completed based on whatever the contractor chose. So MDOT didn't give them an end date. But the overall widening, walking trail, sound wall, all of that has a date of March 30, 2027 is the end date on that overall project. There's been questions about the sound wall was supposed to be done a year ago or whatever. There's nothing to say what part of that was going to be finished at any time. So the overall project has got a completion date of March 30, 2027 at this time, which is a long way out, but it'll be here before we know it, that's for sure. Parkton Road, contractor's still completing the last bit of punch list items, and we'll get a walkthrough to find out if any other issues are there and get that whole project finished. And we're currently working on a ribbon cutting for April the 10th. The Kaliki Way project is complete. The contractor has finished the paving of that project, and we'll do a walkthrough, I think, scheduled for next Tuesday on that to finish that out. Comey Drive, Calapagona Pond, 120-day project that has an end date of June 10th. Right now, we don't have a set schedule on when they plan on starting the dredging on the pond. They did actually work Saturday to try to catch up on some time that they had fallen behind on the overall schedule. They are finishing the south side, at least that's, or west side, whichever way you want to call it, getting all the driveways and landscape culverts that were there put in, and then they'll finish the ones on the north, which I think was only 1 or 2 homes that had landscape culverts to get that side done. And then once they get all that finished on Comey Drive, they'll actually go over to the Calapagona Pond and start that dredging. You may see there's mats out there already for them to get started with. I believe they completed the survey or the pre-dredging survey on that, and so we're getting close to getting for them to getting started on that. Several unit price projects we just haven't got kicked off yet, but they're there to be started soon. The Coon Branch project, its bids are due on March 26th. Meeting tomorrow with Diamond Head Water and Sewer to discuss the plans overall, see if there's any last-minute changes that need to be made to that overall project. But for the most part, a lot of that's in the back of the yard, so it shouldn't be a lot of interference on underground utilities. Jordan River Boardwalk, the Secretary of State lease we received back filed by them, and we had a meeting or a phone call with them today, and we'll have another one with them tomorrow to kind of see where we are. So we got a few more things that we got to finish up on that, and then we'll hopefully get started here very soon. Noma Drive Phase 1, the Public Works has completed the parking lot on that project. Coastal Electric's currently working on the parking lot lights, and the contractor's trying to get the water meter installed and finishing up on the punch list items on that. So we should be soon finished with that project soon. As far as the Noma Drive dredging, which is kind of a separate contract and separate project on there, 90-day project with an end date of May 25th, and the contractor's finally got a boat on site, and we'll begin dredging here within the next week or so. The rest of the projects really don't have any changes to. They're just kind of either engineers are working on them or we're just waiting on permits for them. So, but that's where we are right now.
All right, thank you. Councilman Marr, any questions for the city manager?
No, ma'am.
If before we could do that, if we could let Covington come and speak.
Sure,
The
Sarah.
presentation.
Ben? Oh, are you letting Sarah do it? Okay.
Hey guys, how are y'all doing today?
Wonderful. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Big 3-0. Yes, we're going to look at the Diamond Head paving project 2025. You all should have a copy of the project. If you could turn to page C1, that would be great. C1.0. This project includes base repair and asphalt overlay for 3 roadways in Diamond Head. We visited each site, we assessed it, we completed a drone survey to determine the areas that are going to require the base repair. These base repairs will include removing the asphalt, excavating 7.5 inches, coming back with geotextile fabric, 6 inches of limestone, 1.5 inch asphalt base, and then the entire roadway will come back at once and have an overlay. As you can see on C1.0, this is Bayou Drive. This will be from Diamond Head Drive to Bayou Place. The areas in red or pink, however you see it, they're going to be the base repair areas. A lot of the areas are the roadway intersections. I don't know if you've been out there, but they're pretty
They're
bad,
very
bad
bad,
condition. So
very bad.
we're going to address those. We're going to have base repair, and then we're going to come back and overlay this roadway and stripe it and make it look good again. Looks like we'll have about 2,500 square yards of base repair and around 11,000 square yards overlay. This will meet the asphalt where it ended with the last paving project. The next roadway is Lola Drive. That will be from Diamond Head Drive to Aiki Drive. About half of this roadway will need base repair. And of course at the intersection.
I have a question about this one.
Yes, ma'am.
The corner of Amoka and Aiki and Amoka Place, the house that's on the corner, the city manager was going to get with the city engineer to see if we needed a culvert under Lola Way at that big outfall ditch. So before this paving starts, can we make sure we look at that? There is a major outfall ditch at the intersection of Aiki and Lola. And there is water that backs up on the side of Aiki
Okay.
by Amoka Place. If we could look at maybe putting a culvert under the road. If you see it in a heavy rain, you will see the issue.
We will take a look at this. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then the last one in this project is Turnberry. So it'll be Turnberry Drive, Turnberry Way, and Turnberry Court. It'll be from Mahonahuli to the Turnberry Way project. As you can see, we left out the area that was recently done for the Turnberry Drive drainage project. But the area near Mahonahuli needs a little base repair. Not much for this area, and then the intersection between Turnberry Way and Turnberry Drive. And then we will overlay Turnberry Way and Turnberry Court. We're also going to have to obviously do manhole risers, water valve risers as needed, so that'll be in this project. Do y'all have any questions?
So the pre-con is April,
I believe April 17th. We
No,
advertise, we're proposing to advertise, I think, the 27th. of this
That's
month.
on tonight's agenda for
Yeah.
approval.
April 27th, you're advertising.
For March, for the first advertisement, right? And
So-
then,
Bids are due to be open, due in on when, do we know?
it would be April, off the top of my head, April 20-something. And then the bids will be good for 90 days. Just depending on how the timing works out.
Okay. We're just excited because Bayou Drive has just been,
It needs some
we've been
love.
waiting so long. Thank you very much. The plans look wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Y'all have a
you.
good evening.
You too. Okay, let's start back with Councilman Moore. Any questions for the city manager?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clark?
Yes, ma'am, just one question. The ribbon cuttings, Park 10, we kind of discussed it, you and I discussed the ribbon cutting on the same day. Even though the dredging on Noma Drive is in May, are they still going to do the ribbon cutting for that in April?
Well, the contract has until May, whatever day I said, but he plans on being done within a few weeks. He doesn't think it'll take that anywhere near that kind of time frame.
Okay.
Councilman Finley?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi?
Thank you. John, I just have a couple of questions. So the lot on Charnberry Way, you know, the one with all the dirt and the landscape culvert that's been having trouble catching the water because the drains are, okay, I understand that lot's for sale now. Did the drains ever get lowered? Do you know?
No, I don't believe so. Like, as you said, the property owner put it up for sale, so it's kind of hard to get him to do anything else to it overall.
Because I know the neighbors are still suffering
Right.
when we have a heavy rain. If there's any way that we can get him to comply,
We can try.
that would be great. And then additionally, I just wanted to ask y'all for some clarification. I know the city announced on Facebook last week, which was good, that we granted solicitors licenses or peddlers licenses to 3 individuals from a pest control company. And I
Correct.
just wanted to see if you could explain that process and what's involved, and that it wasn't,
Yeah, I'll
If
give
you
you
can-
my
okay.
my point of it. It's like any other permit that you can come in and ask for with the city. Since I've been here, I want to say I've had 3 companies to come and ask. The others, when we gave them the requirements that are set in the statute that we have, I assume chose not to do it. This company was given the requirements that were that we set on them, and they met each and every one of them. The individuals who are doing these soliciting have to have background checks done. They provided that. They have to provide a bond for this to the city, and then they have to pay the permit fee. So they did all of those things and chose to go through that process. So they met every requirement that we have that the council has set for them. So
and then legal, this is a question for you. So
Yes.
are we able to tell people, no, we don't want you to solicit here? Or do we have that ability?
Okay, I'll try to answer this
Okay.
as best I can. So it depends. The short answer is no, because if they are certain individuals from religious backgrounds, political, that type of thing, you can get in trouble for trying to limit free speech. So for those that are, in lack of a better word, peddling a service, if they meet the requirements that were set out by the city in its statutes, then in that situation, then they can proceed.
Okay, and I think there's been some confusion in the community, just because many of us thought, okay, well, there's no soliciting in Diamond Head, but that was actually a POA rule. Is that correct? So here's my question. As the covenants are expiring, are those guys allowed to solicit where the covenants have not expired, or they're existing in perpetuity? Like, are they allowed to just go anywhere now, or what's the deal?
So, we know with the POA covenants and with the ordinances, everybody in Diamond Head has 2 masters. So you can be in compliance with state law, but not in compliance with POA covenants. So it would be incumbent on the POA to tell those folks, hey, in these areas, the covenants do not allow you. But it's going to be on the POA to do that. Now, as we know, some of the POA covenants have expired in certain areas. I think large areas of the city. There is this notion that, wow, we used to be a city where people couldn't do this. We need that again. Well, the problem is the city can't pick up and enforce covenants like that. We've got to really be careful. And you've heard me say in the past, with things like signs and parking and aesthetics and peddling and things like that, boy, why doesn't the city do it? The POA is not doing it. Well, those are private. The covenants are a private contract between landowners and the POA. The city has to have some policing, public safety function, and that's why we set the rules up that we did. We've regulated it. The Supreme Court case law says we can regulate peddlers, but you can't just issue a blanket ban, not as a city. So, it's unfortunate that the POA is not able to do those things as covenants expired and for whatever other reason, but the city just can't step into that role and say, okay, well, we'll do it, because we've got some limits on what we can do.
But we can adjust how we require them to get licensed, right? And
We could, and we can always take a look at it. We can see if there's things that we can adjust. We can make it, as long as it's reasonable, we can make it as tough as we can make it. So we can certainly revisit, look at the permitting process.
is that something that would need to go through planning and zoning, public hearing, and
Typically, that's the way we do it whenever we're going to amend something like that. That's the way we do it. Get a public hearing, get some input. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of input. Hey, I don't want anybody knocking on my door.
Right.
And we're just going to have to explain, well, you know, the city doesn't have that authority in some instances. But we can certainly see if there's some things that we can
well,
tweak.
on that note, I'd like to make a motion that we ask planning and zoning to hold a public hearing just to revisit the ordinance governing solicitation to see if it needs to be updated and hear from the public, because people are upset. So,
Okay, first, before we just want to do a motion, we have to move to amend the agenda, to add the motion. So do I have a motion to amend the agenda to add a motion to the action agenda, number 18?
So move.
It's up to you.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor?
Well, I'd like a little discussion first.
Okay, so let's hold off on that.
Only because of the permit stuff, I have a few questions on what's the length of time a permit's valid for?
I don't have that in front of me.
90 days? Okay. And does a person putting a no soliciting on their house allow them to have individual rights to tell the people they can't come on their property to solicit?
We can look into that, and that's a private property issue, so we can certainly hear some comments on that and how that would impact that.
Okay.
Legal, you updated this how long ago? It hadn't been that long. 18 months?
No, 2018.
2018?
It's
Oh,
been
this
7
seems like
years.
yesterday. Okay.
It does, time flies.
So with that being said, maybe we should wait on the motion and let you email it out to the council, and let's look at what we have and where we want to go. Because I don't think many of us have read it. I mean, I know I have, but it's probably we need to review it before and put it on
I
the
guess
next agenda.
Yeah, I guess the council can decide how they want to proceed.
So,
But
I moved, yeah.
This motion is simply to amend the agenda to add the motion to hold a public hearing.
Right.
So that's what we're at right now.
Do you want to withdraw that motion?
No, I don't.
Okay, so all in favor to add number 18?
Can you read it?
It's a motion to hold a public hearing, motion for Planning and Zoning Committee to hold a public hearing on recommendations to amending these peddlers ordinance, as I understand it. Was that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so so we've got a motion to add that. We have a second. Did we take the vote or not?
What, the motion was for planning and zoning to hold a public hearing for solicitors.
And peddlers aren't, to determine if there's needed to revise it, amend it, and
Okay.
make a recommendation.
A
to the council.
motion, so this is just a motion to add it to number 18 on the
Correct.
action agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Councilman Cumberland, any questions for the city manager?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to start with a comment about, it's actually an announcement. Ms. Karen Rayner is one of our residents here in Diamond Head, and she's familiar with the town of Tylertown, where we had a lot of destruction this week, and I believe she's taken up collections, and John and I have spoken about maybe using the city hall as a drop-off area for that, and as long as everybody is okay with also using the e-blast, maybe use the e-blast system to make the residents aware that we're going to do that, so that Karen can take that and help some of the people in Tylertown. If everybody's okay.
We are. Have you reached out to the local government in Tylertown? Okay, that probably needs to be your first step to see the needs. Reach out to the government, the local government of Tylertown, and see exactly what the needs are, and work through the government so you know you're hitting the people that really need.
So I'm actually working through the churches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They should be reaching out to the government then so that they know, because they were hit horribly. Mhm.
So thank you for doing that, Karen. It's very nice of you. The other thing, John, you and I met last week about a lot of things that have happened, and remind me again, on the paving the loop, on the budget on that, how far did we come in on budget? You don't have to be exact, but I just remember I was shocked whenever you told me.
Yeah, that's a good question. We were under budget overall. I know and these are going to be bad numbers, but I'm going to give them anyway. We borrowed, I want to say 4.5. Is that roughly? $4 million. We'll say $4 million, and we roughly had like $900,000 left over in our bond paving funds for that project. So you can say it came in, under 300 or 900,000 under our estimated cost. Though I don't know if that was truly our estimated cost to begin with, but overall the project I know did come in under budget. I want to say it was like a little over $3 million, $3.2 million total when the project was bid out, and then I think even then we still came in a little bit under. We just didn't have as much the paving cost as we were expecting.
That's fantastic. So we have, let's see how you have it listed. The largest protected multimodal lane within the city and within a city in Mississippi. And the
That is
protection is that 2-foot gap with the.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
that
our
is what
protection.
I've been told. Bob Barber actually said that to me, that it is the largest protected multimodal lane in the state. So,
That's fantastic.
which is wonderful. It's almost 7.5, almost 8 miles all round trip.
And the money that we have left over from that's what we're using to do some of these other paving projects.
The largest portion of that, yes, and then of course our annually budgeted paving monies.
Well, that's great, John. So, another thing, I can remember after our last election, we had a discussion. I think we talked about it here in a meeting about the signs being kind of large and not really following the rules. And I think that I got a little distracted last meeting because I kind of stepped on Gerard's toes and moved on his motion and spoke first. And but I did want to tell everyone that does have signs out. I think that they're done a really good job. I haven't noticed as much of that. I think there may be some, but not like there were in the past election. I know that the person that brought it to my attention in the last election felt like he didn't really budget for large signs in Diamond Head because he knew the rules, and so he felt like he kind of was at a disadvantage. And so I think that's great. Have we had any issues that you know of? I've only seen one that I know of.
Yeah, I can tell you the last election I tried, but it just seemed like it just exploded overnight, and
Yeah.
with everyone with large signs and trying to contact them, we just finally had to say, it's all we can do and let it go for the last week or 2 weeks. But yes, in this election, it has been much better, and we hope to continue that, and maybe in future elections, everyone stay within that 3 foot by 3 foot square sign size.
That's great.
18 by 24, 3 square feet altogether.
3 square feet, right? Which is that's only like that big, right?
That's the 18 by 24, I think is about what it is, which
Yeah.
is the normal yard sign.
The last thing too, going still on that subject, I was looking over the ordinance, and we have tables, and then we just have a paragraph that talks about the political signs, and political signs aren't listed on the tables. Is that something? Are they going to look at that when you?
It is
PNC
something
or-
that's a bit confusing, and I did speak with legal about that we do need to kind of address that a little bit better and clean it up a little bit more, especially after Gerard's motion last council meeting asking about political signs, just to kind of get it, everybody understands so that we all following the same rules when we're getting out there.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Keeping on the political signs. So I remember on the signs that I had, it was required that the name and phone number be put on the signs, or they're not legal. Is that being addressed or followed, or?
It's contact information that's required. What we've seen in the past is when we have a countywide or a national election, there are folks that are putting signs out, no information on it. We've got no way to communicate with that national organization or, statewide organization about if there are any problems with their signs. Locally, all the candidates come here. We've got all their candidate informations. Their names are on their signs, either an email address or a phone number. So, we're not going to be the content police on the signs. We have some other restrictions, placement, size, things like that, but we've kind of tried to stay away from content. But the city does have contact information for everybody that in this citywide election that has a sign up.
So we may, when we're looking at the sign ordinance, to redo it, because it is a requirement on there. So a violation is a violation. Maybe look at if it's a local election and we, for different elections, that's not required. Maybe modifying that.
That is what I've already spoken to legal about, is that we need to adjust that
Yeah, you do.
requirement. So because of, as he said, the statewide elections, national elections, we don't know who put the signs out. Local election, we know who you are. We have your information and we can get in touch with you easily. These others we can't, and so that's the reason why that's probably the spirit of the rule as to why that's on there. But for local elections, it's really not necessary, and we can make those adjustments, I think, in the ordinance.
Yeah, that's one that we need to make. So getting back to the Bond paving project, I actually was one of the ones that worked on the Bond paving. And the reason we had the $900,000 left is the bond was made originally to include, and Covington worked on it, Bayou Drive. So Bayou Drive was originally included in the scope of work that we submitted but there wasn't enough money at the time to have Bayou Drive, so it was removed. And I know there's some Bayou Drive residents here, and y'all are so excited because finally it's moving forward. And the $900,000 left that was in the bond is now being applied with it. At the time when it bid, the engineer had removed Bayou Drive because they felt it was going to exceed what we had in funding. So that's why we had some left. Maui Circle, the tree limb's been removed yet?
Large portions of it have. They came through yesterday or last week and have removed a large portion of it, and they'll come back in 2 weeks and get the rest.
Oh, so CES is doing it?
That's correct.
Okay, and they come next Monday. Next week
Whatever
is
day their
their
trash is.
debris pickup.
The property owner themselves removed all the large logs and everything out of it.
Okay. So at the last meeting, you said you had the engineer's probable cost for the dog park. What is that dollar amount?
We don't know yet. I did not have that. I said we hope to have that from the engineer, but as I said, he's working on the final design, and then we'll have those numbers.
So the construction plans are not finished yet?
No, ma'am. That's what I said. They're working on those right now.
And you want to advertise to bid without knowing the cost and the...
Not on the dog park.
Okay, just checking. Where are we with the drainage ditch in the middle of the dog park? What is the plans? Is it going to be piped?
That's my overall goal, yes.
To see the cost on it? And parking. So if we look at Oshner's parking lot, I've gone through different times during the day. It's full most of the time. It's full. Are they going to designate specific spots? No, you just park where you get your dog out in the midst of, okay.
Oshner's being very gracious to allow us to park there.
I know, and I guess the thought of that was somebody, an elderly person going into the doctor's office and then a car next to him with a dog on a leash. I'm trying to visualize how this is going to work out. I mean, I think it's probably not in a good spot. That's just my thought on it. Speaking of the dog park grants that motions were put on the agenda to get the grants and receive the grants, and this is a question for legal. So we had grants that was with the Hancock County Community Foundation, which was for the Coast Electric grant for $10,000, and we went through the Hancock County Community Foundation. Then we had Colonel Joe Spraggins give us grants from the Heritage Grant. And all those grants were on the agenda for approval. Was there any issues with any of those grants? We have now transferred the Heritage Grant over to NOMA.
No. The Heritage Grant was revoked by them and to be re-granted at some point in time. Coast Electric also was rescinded.
Okay. We did take and move the Tideland funds,
That is correct.
because we had asked for those, and we moved those to,
Probably Montjoy Creek.
I think it went to NOMA, the NOMA boat launch, I remember.
No, ma'am. It'll go to Montjoy Creek.
Okay, so that part is gonna go to Montjoy Creek.
That's correct.
So, and the Hancock County Community Grant Foundation was returned. I don't think we had a board motion on that, but it is what it is. There was no issues with those grants, though.
As I understand it, yes, that was very, once they found out it was for a dog park, they rescinded that allocation.
Mr. Joe Spraggins?
No, not the Heritage Grant, the Coast Electric Grant.
Oh, no, the Coast Electric Grant knew it was for the dog. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so-
The Coast
so-
Electric, once they found out it was a dog park, they rescinded the grant.
No, the time
Yes,
ran
ma'am.
out on that. The time
No.
ran out on the community
Okay.
grant. Yeah, because they called me and said the time ran out. But we could have taken the 10,000 and bought things for the dog park for the grant. And the city manager filled out that grant and submitted it. Okay, well, let's look into that. I'm going to get with them and you get with them and let's look into that. Because I remember an email I received saying that we could use the 10,000 to buy components for the dog park, but the grant had to have been spent like within 2 weeks because we sat on it too long and it expired. That was how the grant, and then it got returned and we didn't spend it on $10,000 worth of dog park stuff. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, I just want a clarification on that because somebody had mentioned they had heard that and I said, no, that wasn't what was going on. Okay, let's see what else. When do you think we'll have the dog park plans?
Spoke to him again this morning. They're working on those as soon as they can get them out.
And Turnberry Way, I know I bring it up every meeting because the amount of dirt is just extraordinary. Being that the owner is not going to build the house that he apparently was planning on building and he's selling the property, is he going to be allowed to leave that dirt in that area?
Yes, ma'am.
It gets to stay like that?
Yes, ma'am. The new owner, whoever that would be, would have the decision to do whatever they wish to it. The amount of dirt there is 2 feet above the road, which our current ordinance requires 1 foot above the road height. And he is 2 feet, which the engineer provided for the city, and that's where the permit was issued, and that's where he is.
When you look at it, it looks like he's up here and the neighbor to the right's way down here and the neighbor to the left. It looks like it would be a flood issue for neighbors on either side.
And it will be his responsibility to make sure that his stormwater stays on his property or leaves his property properly.
Is there anything that he can do to secure the property, but while it's in the selling stages?
His silt fences that he has up there, which I think in many places he has double silt fences. And in the last storm that went through, everything held, and his silt fences held.
But if it doesn't sell for a year or two, and the neighbors have to look at that pile of dirt,
Agreed.
that's just very not.
Nothing we can do about it.
Okay, that's all I had. So can I get a motion to approve the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. Resolution 2025-064, motion to adopt Resolution 2025-007, authorizing a grant application to Mississippi Department of Wildlife and Fisheries for Recreation Trails Program Grant in the amount of $120,000 for the Noma Drive Nature Trail Project and for related purposes. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Any discussion, Councilman Cumberland?
No, ma'am.
Any discussion, Councilman Marr?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clark?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Finley?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi?
No, thank you.
City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Could I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 3 through 14?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye. I'm going to move for motion 2025-065, motion to mandate that all requests for quotes for purposes over $5,000 but not over $75,000 be placed on the agenda for approval, and seal quotes shall be received on a specific date and time as stated on the request for quotes and opened by the city manager, and received quotes shall be placed on agenda with recommendation for approval by the staff. Could I get a second on the motion?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. And I'm going to start with discussion since I made the motion. The purpose of this is the state makes procurements and they make laws, and the cities, municipalities, any government can enhance the laws. This will allow all quotes to be received at the same date, the same time, opened by the city manager, the same time, so that we know all the quotes that were asked for were received. We know that it's on the agenda, more people will see it. It will reduce taxpayer spending, and that should be the ultimate goal, and it will do checks and balances. It will create a level of government. So I am all in favor of this. Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I have questions about the timing of this. Why all of a sudden are you asking for this when you've been mayor for nearly 3.5 years? And two, wouldn't this delay, like the state has put in that there has to be bids from a certain amount on, and that delays the process of getting things done because you have to wait for the advertising, then you have to wait for the bids to come back and look at them and see if they meet the minimums, and then if they don't, you have to re-advertise them and re-add them. So it seems to me the reason why the state didn't set such a low limit was to allow for city municipal government to act quickly on smaller jobs and then only be worried about the bigger payments taken, making sure that they're handled correctly. I, for myself, think that, I might say, yeah, instead of 5,000, maybe if it was like something like 30,000 on up, but I think this is way too low, and there are things when you want to hey, that pipe busted, we don't want to take 6 weeks to get it repaired. We want to get it repaired now, and so we need to have something that has leeway for them to act in a quick way. That's my thoughts.
Okay, and I guess I was confusing on that. This isn't getting bids and this isn't advertising. This is writing a simple paper saying we're requesting quotes, whether it be for a piece of equipment or a service. It's not bids, it's not advertising, it's not spending money. It's just putting it on a sheet.
Well, how do you get the quotes without bidding or putting it out?
The city manager knows who to contact on the quotes. We put the announcement for the quotes on the agenda. And then people will see it, and they will know that quotes are needed, and they will submit. This isn't advertising for bids. Advertising for bids is a completely, that's for $75,000, a totally different process. Okay, Councilman Clark?
No questions.
Councilman Finley?
I have nothing to add.
Councilman Lisi?
I just had a question. So what if somebody wanted to bid and they didn't see our agenda, I mean, what would happen?
Are you asking now that all quotes have to be prior approved by the council? We have to get permission to get quotes first? That's what you just said.
Yes, that is
So now
what
we
I'm
have to get
saying.
permission to get quotes, then go get quotes, and then bring it back to the council to get it approved.
Your recommendation on the quotes, that is correct. And you don't have to agree with this. You don't have to.
It's just, that takes, now you're at least
That
6
takes
weeks.
steps,
You're
but that
taking 6
also
weeks.
raises the level of integrity.
Well, I think the
I don't
implication
think
is
the
that
integrity is a
there's,
problem.
yeah, I think the implication is that there's something going on, and it's just curious, it is curious, I agree with Councilmember Marr about the timing of this. The city policy has been, since I can remember, that while the purchasing agent, which is John in this form of government, can accept quotes for up to $75,000, here in the city of Diamond Head, every time it's above 25, he gets council approval. So it's already being done to some extent. It's being done at a greater level than state law requires. We have 3 people at City Hall place eyes on every quote that comes in. We stay within budget. John has never been over budget on anything. Every check that is written is then approved by the council, whether it's $5,000 or below, or over $5,000 or over $25,000. We've passed every audit. The auditor has nothing but good things to say about the city and how we do our purchasing. That's all I've got to say.
All right, Councilman Cumberland?
Well, I had a lot of questions, but I think Derek just went through and answered every one of them. I know that we have a purchasing procedure in place. We follow it. Since I've been here in just 3 years, we've been audited by 2 different auditors and we did great in both of them. As far as having to bring the quotes, just like John said, you're talking about 2 meetings minimum, and then probably like a third. I agree with Gerard about the timing too. I don't know if this is just an opportunity to take a shot at the administration, but I just don't see the need for this.
Okay, and it's not bids. Again, people think it's bids. It's quotes. It's quotes, and this raises the level of purchasing, making sure that, and it's not, the timing is because, have we had issues with this in the past in the city? Yes, we have.
When?
We haven't recently.
Do you have evidence of that?
Not under currently, but it can easily happen. It can easily happen. This raises the level. I did speak with the state auditor's office, and I was talking about something else, but then I asked about procurement, and we can raise the level. We can achieve higher standards, and that's why this is on here.
And we have.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor? I'm in favor, so yes for the mayor. All opposed?
No.
Opposed.
All right, so that's 5 noes and 1 yay. 2025-066, motion to allow donations for the original dog park to be returned to the rightful donor upon their request between the dates of March 19, 2025 and June 30th, 2025, to authorize the city clerk to notify the public about the opportunity to allow donations to be returned. I'm going to move on that. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Marr. And my thought on this is, I know you all know, and these motions are on here at this time because we are getting to the end of my term. I did not run again, so I'm at the last few meetings. These residents that donated to this dog park worked so hard on the dog park for years. It wasn't just like they worked on it one time. They worked on it 3 years, very hard. Constantly we see on residents of Diamond Head, I want my money back, I want my money back. Some of them want their money back. It is only fair to give them the opportunity to get their money back. And it is perfectly legal for the mayor and council to allow a period of time to allow them to get their money back. So I feel I had to put this on here because I need I put this on here because I need to know that I did everything that I could to let the residents know that they could get their money back if they're not happy with the new dog park location. So that's my thought. Councilman Marr?
Yeah, the reason this was brought up, I don't know when. Yeah, I'm guessing it was either last summer or maybe even a year ago. But I was all in favor of giving them back the money they donated. We didn't have a specific place yet for a new dog park, and I was all in favor of it. But then when I heard from our legal counsel that if we have a dog park coming, then we're not really allowed to give that donation back. Our hands are tied according to his interpretation of the Attorney General. Then I can't say, yes, let's give it back, because then we'd be in conflict with the state. And even if you wanted to, it would be against, because we have a dog park coming in. So that's my take on it.
Councilman Clark?
Yes, ma'am. Just, I agree with Councilman Marr, but also everything that the city has, was that all the donations from the previous years? Okay, and all that's accounted for, that you guys have? Okay, that's it.
All right, Councilman Finley?
Simply, has anything changed, Mr. Cusick? Has anything changed, council, on the opinion of after we spoke about this last time, we were told that we would not be able to give the money back? Has anything changed?
Nothing has changed, but if you would like me to go over that again, I'm happy to.
No, I'm fine. I just want to make sure nothing had changed.
Okay.
It's been asked and answered. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Lisi?
I just have a question. I don't like the idea of us keeping money that people want back, and I understand that our hands are tied. Are there any other avenues that we could explore that might make people feel better? Like maybe we don't keep their money, but if we can't give it back to them, maybe they'd like for it to go to the Humane Society. I don't know, but another charity. Are there any creative options for using the money another way that they may feel better about? I hate for people to be upset with, the use of their donations, because those obviously were, given with, high expectations, and if they're not happy, I hate for them to have to, be bound by that, but I understand our hands are tied. Is there anything creative that we could do that might be possible?
So I'm going to try to make a round circle and try to hit the bullseye in the middle. Basically, where we are right now is there is still a dog park that is going to be built, and this is, I'm not going to go back into what we discussed before, but Councilmember Marr, you're correct. It was April 16th of 2024 when we last revisited this, and I gave you all this opinion. There is, as long as there is a dog park that is going to be built in the city, and as of right now there is, the state auditor's office the state auditor has given us the opinion that those funds cannot be returned because the intended use is still planned. Now, that does not mean that if the dog park were scrapped in its entirety, that's a different situation. Then yes, the funds can be returned to the people who make that request. But in this situation, it's a very thin line that we're talking about, which is, well, I made my donation because I wanted the dog park in location A, but now it's going to be in location B. And my answer to you would be, at a minimum, we would have to ask for another opinion that gave that specific information. We don't have that in front of us. All we can go on right now is what state law provides and what the opinions that we've obtained, the auditor's opinion provides, and it states that we cannot refund money to any entity or any person so long as the intended use is still planned and a dog park is still planned. So I would tell you that if even, as you suggested, money were returned or given to the animal shelter or something of that nature, if the auditor comes in and looks at it and says, well, you shouldn't have done that. You weren't able to do that either. This council, the 6 of you sitting here, even if you're not in office anymore, this council would be personally responsible if an audit was found that the money was not expended properly. It would not be whoever the council is at, when the auditor made that decision. It would not be the city itself. And so I would caution each of you to think about that before you make your decisions on changing something that we have an opinion from an auditor, the state auditor, that says that we can't do.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we've explored every possibility, so.
Again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Councilman Cumberland?
No, thank you.
And I guess my thoughts on that, as with speaking with the state auditor in the technical division, he said that we had the authority to make a motion. So do you have that in writing where he said we couldn't do it?
Nope, we do not. That's based on our conversation with him. He reviewed the AG opinion that you received. It did not sway his opinion in any way, and it does not sway our opinion in any way. If you would like us to ask him to put it in writing, we certainly can do that.
Can we revisit it? Because, see, I got told a completely different
I don't-
story.
Okay, well, again, I sent an email to all of the members of the council, including you, Mayor, on April 16th, 2024 at 9:14 in the morning, and I advised that this was a teleconference between Derek, Mr. Cusick, myself, Jeannie Klein, John McGraw, and Tom Chain, the CPA and Director of the Technical Assistance Division of the State Auditor's Office. Following a review of all of the opinions, he advised that his opinion had not changed and that donations should not be returned absent a finding that the donations meet the limited instances where they can be returned. And in our situation, the only potential limited instance would be we are no longer building a dog park. If you would like legal to reach out again and say, the difference is it's not in location A, it's in location B, then if the council directs us to do that, then obviously we would do that. But I do not believe that there would be a change based on what he has said thus far.
And I think that's a moot point because I was told by the state auditor's office that the location was irrelevant. Anything about it was irrelevant. That as long as it was a dog park, you could put a fence up out in the town green, and if it is a dog park, then those funds can be used for the dog park. It didn't have to be specifically the same. But the same state auditor person told me that the mayor and council, and this is could return the funds. So I'll reach out to you tomorrow to give you his number, and you can call and.
I mean, if you want to settle this once and for all, why doesn't the council authorize us to get just get a written opinion from the state auditor? We have told you, we have put in writing to you almost a year ago, our interpretation. If y'all want to vote for it, just understand our caution is if we're wrong and if the mayor's right, you all repay it if we get audited. So that's the end of it. I mean, you guys can decide if you want to keep going and get another opinion, it's up to y'all.
I would like to see something in writing because we have so many residents that are complaining about it.
We've had one resident that's asked for a refund in all of this time, and we explained to that resident, and that resident was satisfied with our answer. We've had one resident ask the city for a refund.
Yeah, you don't get on Facebook often. Okay, let's just vote and put it to a rest. All in favor? I'm going to say yes. I'll be the only one. All not opposed?
Opposed.
So we got 5 opposed and 1
Nope.
yes.
Opposed?
That was a no.
No, yes, that was a
Okay.
no.
Motion to discuss the rental of the activity room. I'm going to move on this. I had a few questions.
Second.
Second by Councilman Marr. So renting the activity room, I have a few questions on because I had received an email. When you rent the activity room, and when I read what it says on here, it's very vague, but I had gotten an email from the city manager that says it can be rented for the entire day, and the gazebo is part of it, and the whole parking lot over to the east and in front of the activity room, but yet it's not called out in the rental agreement. So what can we do? And the reason I ask this is if the activity room is ever rented and somebody's out in a gazebo, does the wording need to be changed on this application to include that? Because now it says, subject to terms and conditions listed, portions of the facility, which include the activity center, exterior grounds, parking lot, restroom, and hallways. It's kind of a gray area. So is the exterior grounds the gazebo and the town green, or
Yes,
what?
ma'am, the grounds. The grounds are everything outside.
So it's everything outside.
Yes.
When you rent the activity room, it's everything outside, and what parking lot specifically, because it doesn't say it.
Grounds outside, though, that is what you're renting. You
Oh,
don't have
every
to use it,
parking-
but that is available to you if you rent the activity center.
So for $150, you get every parking lot here and the town green and the activity room.
You do, but you're limited to the occupancy of the activity center, so the chances of you filling up every parking lot space would be,
And that is 80 without
Unbelievable.
chairs
I believe so, yes.
and 50 with chairs. So they wouldn't
No,
really
50
need,
with tables.
with tables, they really wouldn't need a lot. That was
That's
the
correct.
question I had on it, because I was concerned on how that worked. All right, Councilman Moore, any questions?
Yeah, I have a thing that we may need to revisit this, then, the lease, because there have been times when we have open jam at the gazebo and you have the activity center rented out. And so I don't think that it's a good policy to say activity with the gazebo and with all the grounds. To share maybe, but not to say, that this is the right by renting the activity.
I don't know if it's ever been rented out on a Thursday.
Well,
I think the only
I
time was.
think there's been people in there on a Thursday
Certainly
when we
He
had
did the
it.
Lions Club, we had Bonko, and they had open
Oh.
mic.
So I'm just saying, but I
That
mean,
wasn't rented. The only time I can think of was when the first responders were all out there. And then you got National Night Out, and then you guys
Oh,
were
yeah,
also
yeah.
out there, which was great because it allowed people to interact with you guys being out there. And that's something we can always work with the two people if they're wanting to use it at the same time.
Gotcha.
But if you rent the facility, that gives you exclusive right to the gazebo. So if someone else is out there, they would have to leave unless there's some sort of agreement between.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that brings up another question, but if you got a little family out there on the town green and in the gazebo, you gonna tell them to leave? We do need to visit that. Councilman Clark?
I can see that being an option of saying, hey, we want to rent the whole grounds or just the activity center. And then if that's the case, then,
Pay more.
yeah, it's, I think that would be a good discussion to say, can we have just the activity center or can we just rent out everything? And if we do everything, if they rent out everything, can you put a sign out that says reserved or, hey, this is what we have here?
Most people, when they're at the activity center, just want the room, and that's all
Right.
they're looking for. I don't know that anyone's ever really worked out rented the gazebo, except maybe a small wedding. They had pictures there, and then they came in and had a reception. But other than that, it's really never, it hasn't been an issue ever, so.
Councilman Finley?
I have nothing to add.
Councilman Lacey?
Nothing.
Councilman Cumberland?
No, thank you.
So I think we need to visit that and look at that, because it needs to be better defined. Motion 18, motion to request from Planning and Zoning to hold a public hearing to discuss the solicitor and peddler's ordinance.
So moved.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Discussion, Councilman Lacey?
Thank you. Again, we kind of talked about it earlier, but, a lot of residents are really upset. I think it's been a few years. I think there needs to be some clarification. I think there's some crossover with covenants that are expired, not expired. I think it's just a good idea to have Planning and Zoning take a look at it. Let's hear from the public. That would give y'all some time to talk to the POA and find out the implications of these expirations and how that affects citizens, because everybody's trying to navigate this uncertainty, and no one knows for sure. And my thought is, if we do it now, it's still going to take a while, right? Because with the public hearing, you have to provide notice, and
Absolutely.
so this isn't a quick thing. So if we wait, then it kicks it down the road for another month, right? So I would ask my fellow council members to consider that. Thank you.
Councilman Moore.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing it tightened up, people may be saying tighter hours even than, I know they have tight hours now, but even tighter. And so, that's just me.
Councilman Clark.
Like a specific time versus. Right. That's it. I mean.
Councilman Finley.
Yeah, just as stringent policy as we could legally do, and also give the public options, something that they could do to accentuate that, like say some type of sign. Just give them their options and what they can do. This is certainly, people were very upset.
Understood.
Councilman Cumberland.
Nope.
All right. So when we look at the covenants and we look at the city, we look at the POA, we look at the difference between public and private. So the POA, and I have lived here. I didn't move away for 30 years and come back. I have lived here since 1993. And I have seen it change with the covenants going away. I've seen it change with turning into a city. I've seen it change. They say be careful what you wish for, because things change. And it did change when we become a city. And the same thing when we look at the amenities, the city taking them over and then they become public. The city has, just like the legal said, the city has state and federal requirements that we have to go by. And everything the city has is public. So when you look at that, it limits what we can do, because nonprofits can do a whole lot more than we can do. We have to follow very strict rules, and we have to make sure that everyone has equal rights and is allowed to use whether it be the amenities or soliciting. I personally am not in favor of soliciting at all. I had somebody come up 2 weeks ago and wouldn't leave my front yard, wanting to talk about I don't even know what, but I ended up calling the police because they wouldn't leave, and it was the solicitor. Then they went down to the neighbor's house, and then they kept going. It was just, and they did not have a permit. So anything that we can do to make it where, and even with the residents knowing, that was a good thing to put it out there, because trust me, the police would have been called every 5 minutes had you not. They would have been calling them, because we're not used to solicitors and dime. It's not a common occurrence. It's not a common occurrence. So anything we can do to make it, and make it where when solicitors are issued a permit, that it is e-blasted in Facebook, because just like Ms. Penny said, she doesn't have Facebook. She wouldn't have known had we not e-blasted it. So did we e-blast that as well? Yeah, we need to do both for people that don't have Facebook, because that is, so when you're looking at redoing it, make sure that's both in there. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve docket of claims DKT 232598, DKT 232637, the amount of $688,294.54. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve payroll payables, PR claim 000229, in the amount of $27,911.61. PR claim 000230 in the amount of $3,058.37. PR claim 000231 in the amount of $27,529.77, and docket of claims 232588 and 232597 in the amount of $41,909.91. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve February 2025 financials.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve department reports, A. Motion.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any non-agenda? Any closing comments, Councilman Marr?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clark?
Yes, ma'am, just real quick. You mentioned taking over the amenities. Have y'all been presented this? Because it has been a hot topic about the city taking over the amenities. Has that been any discussion? I've never heard it over the previous year of me being here.
There's no,
Okay,
no offer on the table for the city to take over the amenities.
okay, because I get asked all the time, and I'm sitting right here, I've never heard it, so I was just confirming that. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Finley?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi?
Just a quick question. So where did we leave it with the drop-off location for Tylertown? Are we having that here? Are we able to drop off here?
Yes, I'll get that on our Facebook page and e-blast that out to residents.
Okay, because I had some things I was going to have to take to her. I'll bring them here. Thank you.
Councilman Cumberland?
No, ma'am.
All right, is there any need for executive?
No, ma'am.
Motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight.